We're going to just delay this about 3 minutes, just waiting for Commissioner Dance. He had a prior thing, and he's on his... I'm just giving him a couple minutes.
Charlie's here.
Okay.
Take off.
I want to see you at the 15th hole. It's second round.
We're all high age.
I didn't even play that 10 years ago.
I'll tell you what, we go to bed early.
Okay, everyone, I'm going to call this meeting to order. This is the Monday, April the 5th, 2021 workshop for the Flagler County Board of County Commissioners, and I'm going to call us to order and ask that you join us for the pledge to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And let's take a moment and think about, remember, and pray for our first responders here in Flagler County, our law enforcement officers, and all the great men and women of the United States military that keep us safe both here and abroad. Okay, thank you. So this workshop is going to cover a couple of subjects this afternoon. We're going to talk about some economic development activities and future directions. And then we're going to talk a little bit more about the airport development. So with that, I'm going to kick off item 4 on our agenda, which is the economic development presentation. And Ms. Amy Lukasik.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chairman and Commissioners. First of all, thank you for your patience and participation as Dolores has gotten settled in our community. She's met with various business leaders, local agencies, and local organizations to hear their thoughts on economic development. As you may have noticed with the backup that you were provided last week, that the majority of what will be presented to you today is the data that is the economic baseline of our community. This information will help guide you on future policy decisions that will be needed to be made. And with all that being said, I'll hand it over to Dolores Key, who has spent a significant amount of time gathering all this information, and a lot of it you may not have even seen before. So, Dolores?
Good evening, or good afternoon, Commissioners. It's very nice to be in front of you today. Basically, what is economic development? I'm not going to read to you what the International Economic Development Council recognizes as economic development. However, economic development has evolved over the past 20 to 30 years where it was just about jobs. Back in the day, we just wanted to count the number of jobs. However, it has evolved into what companies will always ask: where can my employees live? Where can we play? Where can my employees and their children learn? And where can we put our company or work? Those are the 4 foundations of economic development. It's about a sustainable community, and you have to look at all of the interrelationship between the social, which is your live and play, and the economic, which is learn and work. And although government cannot create the jobs, it is government's responsibility to create the environment that can create the jobs. So that is very important, and it is a shift in what we look at economic development. So what do I mean by doing that? We look at the financial incentives, the land development regulations that can create the right conditions. We look at expedited permitting programs, the infrastructure assistance, meaning does it have water, does it have the electricity, all of those things that enable what we consider shovel-ready land, and other amenities, the play function, playgrounds, all those things that make a community where you want to live. We also have to remember we have to be not only competitive with other counties, we have to be competitive against regions as well as other states and countries. So basically, all of the data that I am going to be showing you today is acceptable by not only the state of Florida, but by the U.S. Economic Development Administration, which makes it available for us to be able to look for grants. So let's look at our profile. These are our fast facts of how we stand against other counties in our region. As you know, we're number 1 in the state of Florida as far as as far as growth in population. According to the Economic Development Administration, we are 91st out of over 3,000 counties in the United States. So I don't know if you had a chance to look over all these stats in your package or not. So let's look at that live function. What do I mean by live? Not only do we want a place for the CEO to live when they come or relocate to Flagler County, we want them to be able to all the employees to have a place to live. It's very, very important to be able to answer that question. So let's look at our population growth first. So how are we stacking up? As you can see, our percentages of growth have slowed down after what I would call the recession back in the early to mid-2000s. Our growth rate is climbing back, so we can expect that to start really climbing back to where we were before. So we are recovering from our recession. So we need to get prepared for the housing stock that we may need. Again, let's look at our growth rate trends. We're in the green line. We aren't quite as fast as St. Johns County, but we are getting back up there. So let's look at the number of units that we have available for people to live. Again, a very important component when you're wanting to either grow a company or to be able to relocate a company. These are the number of housing units that you have within Flagler County. You can see that the renter-occupied units are very, very low. And the number of housing units compared to people that you're adding into your county is very slight. Another key takeaway that I did not include in all your data, in your 55 plus category, is about 45% of your new population growth. Your 20 to 54% age group is about 34% of your population growth. Your 5 through 19 age group represents about 16% of your growth, whereas your under 5 is about 3.9% of your age growth. So let's look again, further drill downs into your live component of your about 54,000 housing units. This is what happened here. About 83% of your housing units are owner-occupied, whereas about 17% of your housing units are renter-occupied, which means about the 83% are subject to Save Your Homes legislation, which means that you've got a 3% cap as well as the different 50,000, 50,000, 50,000 if you have a senior population like I'm going into. So I'm not quite sure why that slide came up like that. Sorry about that, gentlemen. So how about your median home values? They are going back up, which is a good sign for our ad valorem revenue. Again, looking at the data, unfortunately, data prior to 2010 was not available on the American Census Bureau anymore because I had wanted to see where it was prior recession to see if we had recovered completely to that time, but it looks like we've made substantial growth in that for your ad valorem tax revenues.
That slide
Yes,
points
sir.
out a dichotomy that we have because it obviously impacts affordability because we have a low percentage of rental housing and our median price keeps rising every year. So it's a challenge that we have in this county.
Correct.
And it's going up fast right now. That stovepipe is going to go up.
Yeah.
I mean, unbelievable homes are what they're asking now for.
Yeah.
To that point, this is your vacancy rate. And something that I was able to pull from the ALN apartment data source, the occupancy rate in your rental is running about 98 to 99%. So even with that, the rental prices are going up because the demand is so high. It is really almost cheaper in Flagler County to be able to purchase a home than it is to rent. And I found that out myself. I just purchased a home because it was cheaper for me to buy a home, which I am very glad to be a permanent resident now. Okay, so getting to your point, here is income for a mortgage payment. Traditionally, you should pay no more than 25 to 30% of your gross income should be spent on mortgage principal, interest, property taxes, and property interest, which is PITA. As you can see, anything in the yellow line or above is what people are paying on their mortgage, which means 42.7% of homeowners are spending more than 25% on their mortgage. It's very dangerous. Income on rent. Again, no more than 30% of gross income should be spent on rent. So 57.7% of non-owners are spending more than 30% on rent payments. Housing is at a crisis level in Flagler County for your workers. However, on a good note, county health rankings, out of 67 Florida counties, we're in the top 1/3 in the state. That's something to be very proud of, and we're getting better every year. As we continue to improve, it's going to be far more desirable to live in Flagler County. So in a live summary, it is identified as an opportunity for us to improve. Once we take care or look at our housing element and try to get some things under control, we can make, that's an opportunity for us to improve. We have some great things going for us, but we have some opportunities to improve. Moving on to play, as I said, when you are trying to recruit a company, at least when I was down south, one of the things they wanted to know is where can our scientists go and play? Where can our people go and play? That's important to be able to rejuvenate our batteries for the work-life balance and for inspiration. Well, good thing is, it seems like y'all got play in the bag. I mean, you have great eco-tourism benefits. People can go out canoeing and kayaking and go to the beach and all of those amenities that make a community desirable. You have parks, trails, waterway, equestrian pursuits, all sorts of wonderful things for your people to be able to go and do. It has been identified as a strength. So you have a plan in place with dedicated staff to achieve goals and objectives. So congratulations to you and your tourism department for working on the play component. It's something that when I have been speaking in the last couple of months to different companies that are looking to come here, that they're very excited about. Ecotourism has become an industry in itself. Learn is a quality education for the children of employees, as well as continuing education for the employees themselves. Again, a very important component in recruiting companies or expanding companies.
Dolores, could I just ask a question?
Yes, sir.
Sitting here, I should have, on that last, on the play thing, and Amy's here too. I agree for children and the echo and all those outdoor things that we have and all that, but I do get a lot of feedback from our teenage population, the 14 to 20-year-olds, something like that, who complain about, they don't have enough stuff to do. So did you look at that at all, or I'm not sure even who would be best to answer that right now, but is that true, or is it just a few complainers?
To be honest with you, I cannot accurately answer that question under these pandemic kind of conditions. It would be hard for me to give you a truthful answer. I'm sorry, sir. Okay. I have been very impressed. I've toured the high school around your Learn component. I'm very, very impressed with this. The Classroom to Careers program. I went through the entire program with some of the teachers and assistant principal. I think this is something to tout to companies wanting to come here. It's an incredible program for not only the students, but for people that are wanting to entice students to learn about businesses and what is an opportunity. And congratulations to our school district for thinking about the careers to Classrooms to Career program. So again, another impressive program is that you have a 92% graduation rate, which is higher than the state average, something to be very proud of from the school district point of view. So in Learn Summary, I would identify this as a strength and would like to continue working with Flagler County School District and other partners within the county. I have done an analysis on the other places to learn on the post-secondary programs, and will hopefully be able to pursue some of that as the pandemic goes away. So, work is a place to locate or expand your business. And why I say expand is you're looking at not only you're also looking at the companies that already are here, but those that also want to relocate here. So you can't forgo the people that are here and want to expand. They're equally as important. And you have to key in on value-added jobs, because the idea is to go 10% over the current wage that is currently in the county. Very, very important in economic development, because you want to raise the standard of living for all of the people or all of the citizenry in the county. Currently, that is around 32,000. So, how are we recovering from the pandemic? We're doing a really good job in spite of having a lot of tourism industry. You can see that we had reached a high of about 15.2% unemployment rate. Now we're about, as of January 21, we're at about a 6.1% unemployment rate. So we are recovering. Now, note that does not include those that may have fallen off of the unemployment rolls, those that are long-term unemployed.
My clients cannot find employees. And I'm talking about restaurant clients, contractor clients, cannot find employees. And nobody pays minimum wage in Flagler County. You can't afford to operate your business and pay minimum wage. It's every bit of that $32,000 a year and higher for entry-level kind of jobs, other than if you're hiring teenagers, because it's the pressure is just incredible. It's not only the growth of our economy, it's also the negative, what I'll call the negative externalities of the additional unemployment and other money that people are receiving because of the COVID relief.
Right. I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
From my discussions with some of the business community, I've heard that complaint. Now, we're getting into brass tacks where people might not like what I am going to say, the bad. We're looking at our land use allocations, and this gets down to where I said economic development is more than just jobs. How much of our land mass do we actually have allocated to job creation? And this is where policy comes into factor of making room for jobs. About 2% of your total land mass is allocated to commercial and industrial job creation. And you can see the rest of the breakdown. And to the right, you can see the total number of acres to each of the land use categories. The places I have served before all wanted about 30% of their land mass delegated to commercial and industrial land use. Now, I'm not talking about, and when I talk about industrial, I'm not talking about smokestacks. I'm talking about scientific, those type uses. Scientific uses that would be considered industrial in most places. Things that have a higher density than just commercial.
And not retail, right?
not retail. Retail is usually considered commercial. Okay?
So, are you saying we only have 751 acres devoted to agriculture?
Yes, the rest is, the new term I learned is silviculture. I never had heard of that.
What?
Silviculture, timberland.
It's 751,000.
Oh, well, maybe.
No,
Okay.
it's 751 acres is actually agriculture. The rest of it is in your timberland. So you take those, what I did is
One farm, one ranch, the Phillips Ranch has 1,000 acres.
but a lot of it may be in what they call timberland. Because when I worked with the GIS, what they did is they took the categories, which was all in agriculture, and separated out actually what was in timberland and what was actually in the agricultural use.
We have more than 751 acres growing vegetables and things like that. Absolutely. Needs to be checked.
Okay, I'll double check with GIS.
How do you do a cattle ranch? What do you call that? Agriculture.
Yes,
You have thousands of acres of cattle ranch.
I will double check.
Right. It's a big deal here in our county, so we got to be careful on that one. Okay.
I will double check the numbers with GIS. Thank you. I will note this and rerun the numbers. Nonetheless, you have 2% that's in commercial and industrial.
That's,
When you, again, these are your preliminary numbers. When you look at your key takeaway or rough analysis in your ad valorem revenue streams, and you take the numbers that are supplied by the property appraiser and the spreadsheets that they have provided and divide it up, these are the numbers that come out in the different categories of who is doing what to your ad valorem revenue streams.
Don't we always get beat up for not having we don't have enough commercial? This, if you believe this graph, 50% of our income, ad valorem income, comes from commercial.
Which, what we discovered in South Florida is there was a revolt from your commercial industry that they were carrying the burden.
What you're thinking.
but this is ad valorem tax. This is
Yeah,
our
but
ad
it says,
valorem.
it
Revenue
says
streams.
51% commercial, 37% residential. I mean, I could see where 51% could get bigger,
Right,
but we get beat up all the time because residential's carrying the load, and this graph says they're not.
exactly.
load. Like commercial's major input to ad valorem.
And again, this is just a preliminary analysis, and I think it needs to go, it's something that bears looking deeper into. Especially when you go into, you know, how things are going in the state legislature and how many more tax exemptions may be created from the different categories. And how it plays into your ad valorem revenue streams and providing services for your residents. So, as a summary, it's identified for work as an opportunity for improvement. Approximately 2% of your land mass is dedicated to commercial and industrial, and your average job wage is about $36,000 per year. So our recommendations for consideration is in the live component. In order to support a robust workforce housing, you need to consider reducing lot sizes to allow for smaller cottage-type homes, because we know that one housing cost or to build a house is going to cost the same as far as the material costs. So smaller homes and smaller lots may bring down some of the cost. If you increase your density and intensity in residential areas, that's another way to bring down costs for housing. Allow for granny homes in areas that you can. And think of attainable housing versus affordable housing. And there is a difference. Attainable housing, you're working with developers to help reduce costs and not using HUD kind of different things.
I hear you, but this is a conversation I've had with Adam for 4 years. If somebody wants smaller lot sizes, all they have to do is apply for a zoning change, right? I mean, they just got to say, a builder's got to say, I'm going to build cottage-type homes, but I need to go to the county and say, I need smaller lots. I want to change this in the land development code or land development or in the flume or whatever, and then we vote on it and get it done, but, right?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. However, sometimes it's more desirable to have that already in place where you have a section that is cottages, where that is already set aside and ready for development. Because what is more difficult for a developer or a company, either way, on land development regulations, they want clear, concise, consistent land development regulations where it's fast and easy. For instance, when I was working on the Scripps Research Institute project, because we didn't have land development regulations in place, what could have been a 6-month to 1-year process turned out to be a 3 to 4 year process. And we had to put them in temporary quarters until we could get their permanent location done. It was a nightmare. So if you have all of the land development regulations already in place, it becomes a desirable community for somebody to come in, whether it's a developer or whether it's a company wanting to relocate or to expand. It becomes much more beneficial from either a live component or a work component to already have that dedicated, all of your rules and regs in place, ready to go, so they go, I'm there, I'm ready to go, and they can pull the trigger. And that's just from my experience of 20-plus years in economic development.
It seems to me that if a developer wants to build small houses, he'll get it done. But nobody comes and lines up and says, I'm going to build small houses because that's what the people want. If you have a developer come into Flagler County and say, I want to build small houses and I need a zoning change to do that, Adam, we could get that done. I mean, we could get it done. I mean, but somebody's got to want to build them. I don't know of any developer waiting in the wings to come in and build little bitty houses.
To look at the compatible areas for the smaller lots. You try putting the smaller lot development in just about anywhere next to our single-family lots, and you're going to get opposition from everybody.
Right.
So the answer isn't just about finding somebody who wants to develop the small ones, because those areas where it's going to be compatible, there's probably even fewer of those. So it's the advantages of master plan DRI communities is you get a huge piece of property and the owner or developer is able to put mixed residential units in one big area so that they are compatible. I think addressing the land use map is I think what we're focusing on, so that you can identify locations for smaller residential lots, and it's going to be in an area where you're not going to run into the opposition.
You don't think if we tried to set aside a tract of land and said, we're going to change this, and we're going to make these for small homes, that we still get the same pushback?
You have to be creative, so you're going to probably look at larger buffers, and you may sacrifice other components, kind of like through the PUD process. You know, you're developing your own zoning code through that process, and if you have standard single-family lots on one property, you may end up with a larger than normal buffer in those areas. So if it was as easy as you said, everybody'd be doing it. I think we have to be creative. Ultimately, is have creative avenues written into the code, and that's where we're gonna.
Well, Joe, you're a builder, and I mean, if you want to do something, you can get it done, right? I mean,
Yeah, I think what the challenge we're seeing in Flagler County is, Greg, on it, the builders aren't lining up. When they come here to build small, they can see they can build bigger. You can build more for it and make more money. So they're looking at.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, we're not hearing you. Your microphone's muted.
Sorry. They're looking at, we only have so many acres that we can develop. Like for example, I brought a developer in, he's building 300 apartments in Town Center. He bought 30 acres. He only has 30 acres that he can build on, so he's going to maximize his profit coming back on that. He didn't get any incentives or anything, so he's building the top-notch apartments you can build. Now, I initially talked to him about workforce housing. So without some kind of incentive to go the workforce route, without some kind of discount on the land or something, it is going to be hard to get those builders to not switch up and do that. But they're out there and they'll build. It just, again, when you go to an acreage plot, it's the desire, it's a private company. They're going to try to maximize every penny they can for as many houses and as much acreage as they can get.
you know, look in Bunnell at Grand Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
And look what's happening there. They're building 2,000 square foot, 3-bedroom, 2-bath homes as fast as they can. And they've, I don't know where they are now, but they're up around 600. And they're building them as fast as they can, and they're selling them as fast as they build them. So,
But all those houses are 200,000 plus.
yeah,
And
200,000
they're not high-end, but they're not
No, they're
what we
affordable.
call affordable. Well, they're not workforce housing, I
No.
mean, as we're looking.
They're all about 250,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's no
Mr.
density.
Chairman,
And there's no way.
No density.
Yeah.
if I may, we have a solution, or as close to a solution as I think you can find, that'll be coming to you next month on attainable housing.
Okay.
All right, keep going, Dolores.
Thank you. On the work component, top priorities, in my opinion, an economic development element in your comp plan. Currently, you only have a small little piece of what that addresses some incentives. That does not make an economic development element, in my opinion. Continue to promote Flagler County through marketing initiatives. Continue to be the point of contact for economic development inquiries. So far this year, I've had about 40.
What's the, can you stop for a second and just give us, is that 40 2021 or since you've been
Since
here?
I've been here.
And can you give us the flavor of what kind of inquiries they are, if there's any trend to them at all?
They've been kind of all over the board, from obviously one that you know about that has already relocated,
Right.
to aerospace, a couple and some in aviation, to, just all over the board right now. Some in medical, just different sectors at this point.
Okay.
Identify the built environment ready for businesses to move in. When I arrived here, you had 2 programs that were linked to GIS type mapping with only 2 sites in each of them. Now I have over 200 property listings in each of them so that we can see what we actually have for people to either move in or build on. Unfortunately, most of it is vacant land and none of it is what I would consider shovel-ready.
We remember we encouraged a builder to build it and they will come, and they didn't come.
Well, it is sold to a company.
Finally sold, yeah.
Yeah, it is sold now. But shovel-ready does not mean building the building. Shovel-ready is having the infrastructure with water, internet, drainage, all of those type things. Because back in the day, and back in the 20, 30 years ago, developers would come in and they would put in that infrastructure. Those days are gone. And in fact, that's why when I was working on the Park of Commerce in Lake Worth Beach, I was able to get an infrastructure grant from the Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration. I could prove that X amount of jobs would come to the city of Lake Worth Beach, and the Department of Commerce matched some dollars for us to put the infrastructure in, because companies just will not pay for that infrastructure anymore.
Another term used a lot is just site or pad ready.
Exactly.
So
in economic development, we call it shovel ready. You're calling it pad ready. Same thing.
So we're fighting two things there. Our county's never been that way since ITT days, when they built a few parks and sold the land.
Right.
Did all the infrastructure, and we've never had an investor to do that anywhere in Flagler County, really, on a large scale. And so we're competing against other communities that have that.
Correct.
And we're also competing against other communities that may be older, that have older parks or industrial areas, commercial industrial areas that are turning over. That there's availability. We don't have either of those.
Mr. Chairman, I got to say, though, we have the airport. Those are pad-ready sites. Town Center, those are pad-ready.
Well, but Town Center was originally built to be more of a residential, retail.
I don't think that's true. And I think our airport has lots of pad-ready sites ready to go.
What's that? Okay. But what I'm saying is traditionally that has not always been the case.
Okay.
So the other thing I would consider is earmarking land for commercial and industrial use, especially industrial use, and reevaluate your incentive programs. You have 2 incentive programs on the books, and you may want to reevaluate those. They're very complicated. And you have 2 companies that actually have been successful in using them. One is a capital investment program, and one is a job creation program. And in fact, the state of Florida is relooking at theirs incentive programs as we speak. So with that, I'll take any questions you may have on any specific items.
Any other questions, Commissioners?
Well, it brings up maybe we should have Adam give us a presentation in the upcoming deals about land that's available and what could we do to change the zoning of it already. I mean, I just maintain that if somebody wants to build small houses, we'll make it happen. But
In terms of the commercial industrial land, I mean, the reality is, the other reality for Flagler County is most of the land that's developable or vacant land is not within the unincorporated area. It's with, the more desirable land would be within the cities. So not that we shouldn't have a policy and think about all those things you talked about, but the reality is it's also a municipal issue as well.
GIS did do a map regarding the different areas, the generalized land use map for me that I can pull up, or we can do this at a later time if you prefer.
Yeah, that's fine. We don't have to
Okay,
pull that up now.
that's fine.
Yep. All right, any other questions, commissioners, comments?
I would tend to agree with the incentive that it needs to be looked at, and we need to look at competitive areas, because we were talking about that at the regional, or I'm sorry, not regional, the tri-county meeting about each county seeking these businesses, and I was shocked. St. John's is still seeking similar stuff to us. So they're still needing to grow. They've got one hospital for that whole county, and just like we do, but yet they're more advanced. So I think we're going to have to either create regional or local stronger incentives or to get the attention. It's not uncommon. Amazon, we lost, and I kept saying they're interested in this area of Florida. We lost them to Volusia, but Augusta got them, and they're getting a second Amazon location there. So it's not uncommon for Amazon to do 2 locations in a region. So, you know, again, the sky's the limit if we just set our minds to it.
And to your point, a couple of weeks ago, I was responding to a company that was looking in the state of Florida at 2 counties in the state of Florida, at us, and to one of my former employers in South Florida. And I will tell you, Palm Beach County has a very rich incentive program. And they liked Flagler County because of all of our amenities and our open space. But unfortunately, I have no incentives that I could offer them. But right. I still think we are in the mix because of some of the amenities, but we will see how it all shakes out. Because, money does talk.
I would hate to hear that, because I would think as a commission, we're not averse to hearing any deal or possibility. So we would hope that you would bring us those and feel empowered to talk about those things with prospects, because we can always say no, but we don't. If something doesn't come to us to look at or consider, just because it's not a written policy that we have doesn't mean that we wouldn't be open to talking about incentives if it's a viable project. Yeah. And it has a significant impact on the tax base and on employment.
And that's where I need your direction, if I have that permission to do so. Because certainly it's not too late for me to go back and do that.
I can't speak for the other commissioners, but I can tell you, me personally, I'm always open to considering anything that's viable, that's going to help our community.
We have done some incentives over the last.
We have,
well,
and successfully.
Well, and that's where I mentioned the 2 that you have on the books.
Well, other ones before that.
Yeah, there were some custom-made ones for different people coming in, like the furniture company. They had a few custom incentives that were done on there.
But based on employment, if you employ X number of people, you get a little tax break. If you
I think we
do that.
Like the chairman said, we're open-minded with this. I know I am.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Mr. Administrator and Mr. Attorney, how would I go forward with moving that particular item forward?
I wouldn't know unless you talk to me about what the specifics were of the business.
Okay.
For example, on that Palm Beach situation, if you came back to the administrator and said, hey, this is what Palm Beach is offering, or what the prospect might consider, you could run it by him, and if in his judgment he feels it's something that you all want to present to the commission, then you should do that.
Yeah.
Right now, it's all under a confidentiality agreement, so I would just come back to you and say, this is what I'd like to offer.
Under those rules, we understand.
Very good.
I would add, though, that based on what Mr. Hansen had noticed, that maybe there's a colored graphical GIS map that shows the acreage. So we can put the eye test to where you're allocating the silviculture to and agriculture, just so we have in our minds a more accurate representation of those areas in the county.
I'd be glad to do that, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, that's definitely a coding issue.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I may. Economic development follows a progression. And, you know, it's almost infallible, and it's a lot like turning a flywheel. And initially, you get rooftops, and those rooftops reach a critical point, and you start getting neighborhood support commercial. And that attracts more people when they have the neighborhood commercial support. And then people start to look for amenities and quality of life things, principally recreation and culture. We got a lot of things here that attract people, and you're beginning to see that progression evolve. And it picks up speed once you get recreational opportunities and you get cultural opportunities, more people tend to come. But there's one ingredient before you start pulling in national and regional offices. They do the research and they look and see where you rank in these things. The number one ranking that they look for is schools. Because when you got people in the income range that would move for economic opportunity or job opportunity, they tend to be middle to upper middle class. And they are childbearing age most of the time, and they want schools. That's one of the first things that happens. Once your schools start coming up, and ours are rapidly, and the flagship program is a tremendous benefit, then people start seeking you out, and companies start seeking you out. You rarely can start at the top and hope to bring in an Amazon or a national headquarters or regional offices that have to bring qualified people with them. You can rarely do that unless you have gotten that base has evolved to a point. The best example that you have today is right next door to you. St. Johns County was essentially right where we are now 15 to 20 years ago. I was there when the schools started increasing and got to number one. Once the schools hit number one, and they were that way for now going on 8 or 10 years, then all of the economic activity started. So a lot of these things, before you can get these major players in here, have to evolve through a natural progression.
All right.
Okay.
Thanks, Lars.
Thank you.
I think we'll just do we are going to do public comment at the end after all the presentations. So I think we have, dovetailing on that, we have Mr. Seeger.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. My name is Roy Seeger, Director of Flagler Executive Airport. The coming to today, because you all know, last year we started the design of the new general aviation terminal facility. But you also know that the airport is a true enterprise fund, right? Everything we do at the airport is from our fuel sales to our land leases, our T-hangar leases, we make our own money. And so the airport was not immune to COVID, just like any other business in Flagler County wasn't. So we did have some loss of revenue last year. And we still made money. We didn't lose everything. We still made money. And most of that where we lost money was because of we have a lot of business tenants at the airport. And having a lot of business tenants at the airport, some of those individuals weren't able to make payments on their leases, and we did some lease forgiveness as well to help out the businesses. So we did have some I would say, lower revenues in 2020. So as I started looking at, as we got this new terminal facility all designed and ready to go, as you all, I've met with you all, and here's a picture of it from the land sign, is we were about to go out to bid for this. So this building we thought was going to be about $6.5 million, which it could be. But of that, we're going to have to pay 20% of that. So where the airport's going to have to go out and get a grant for that 20%, which is about $1.2, $1.3 million, depending on what it comes in at. So as I was looking at these revenues and just operating really close, I mean, we can afford it and go out and get a loan for that, but I'd be really operating really close to that line where I'm spending almost everything I'm making. And I don't want to do that. So, and here's a picture too of the GA landslide. So I'm not just bringing you a problem. I'm not coming here asking you for money. I'm bringing you a solution. So my solution is that I want to delay as much as it kills me, and as you all know how long I've been waiting to build this brand new GA terminal facility, and even looking at Commissioner Sullivan, he always asks me about it, is that I want to delay it 1 year because what I want to do is build 3 more rows of T-hangers. Now, T-hangers are money makers. Okay, T-hangers are big money makers. Right now, we have 56 T-hangers at the airport. This design right here is to build 42 more T-hangers, okay? I've already approached the FDOT on this. The FDOT gave me the green light and said, if you want to change your project, we'll let you change your project. That doesn't happen very often. Typically, they won't let you do that midstream. But I explained to what position we're in, and I look at it as my fiduciary duty to make sure that the airport stays fiscally responsible and not fall into the backs of the taxpayers. So the good news is if we build these T-hangers here, so that's 42 units. 6 of those will be 6 large units on the corners and 36 other regular T-hangers. That's going to be an extra $212,400 a year annually. That's a lot of money. So what I'm asked, and also this location is great because it also allows me to expand in this area for 3 more down the road. So what the FDOT has agreed to is that they will write me a grant right now to design the T-hangers, which will take about 3 months to design. There's going to $117,000. They're going to pay 100% of the design. So then I go out, so once we get out, we'll go out to bid and we'll get the T-hangers. Hopefully we get the T-hangers built in 9 to 10 months. So once they're built, that's going to be 80-20. The airport's going to have to pay $560,000, but if I paid that straight, that would basically be paid off in 2.5 years. But I'm not going to wait and just use all that money that we make from the revenue for the T-hangers to pay this. I'm going to use that money to help with the loan that we need for the general aviation terminal facility. So I would like your all's permission, because everybody right now thinks I'm on the track to go out to bid to build a new terminal building. What I'm asking is to put a stop on that for 1 year and move forward with building T-hangers.
Roy, go ahead. Okay. How I determine building more rental properties is by an occupancy rate and a waiting list. If I have a 90% or higher occupancy, or I have a large waiting list, it's time to build more. Do you have either? What are those two?
That's a great question, Commissioner. So we have been at 100% at the airport for many, many years. Now, as you all know, in the past, I've been wanting to build more T-hangers for years. We built those 2 other ones years and years ago, but the FDOT would never give me money to build more T-hangers until we fixed our infrastructure. Infrastructure needed to be fixed. As you'll see another picture here shortly, it shows all the projects that we've actually, well, I can go to it right now, actually. Everything that's colored there, you see that whole entire airport is lit up like a Christmas tree. We're done. The airport is completely rebuilt. I mean, the only one that's not lit up right there is a crosswind runway, which is runway 624. Once that's done, every piece of pavement has been done on the airport. So now we're ready to start going vertical. And to the other question, that Commissioner, 100%, we have 90 people, probably more now, waiting on our list to get a T-hanger. And if you are lucky enough to get a T-hanger, you've been on that T-hanger waiting list for 2.5 years.
So this isn't a situation of build it and they'll come. This is build it to accommodate what's already
And they're
here.
here.
Because it's here needing
We
it.
will,
This is a wait.
we will fill up these T-hangers before they're built.
Gotcha.
Guaranteed.
Chairman? My question is this. We went pretty hard to buy that additional property here about a year and a half ago, I guess now, to accommodate the new terminal. And I understand we're going to do the T-hangers first now. That's a request anyway.
Maybe.
But there were some other things that were going to go along with building the new terminal. It had to do with the rental car agency and fixing where they are and where you would wash things and things. Is that also get stopped?
No, that has nothing to do with nothing with that. The rent-a-car, that's a separate project, and they're doing that all on their own.
Okay, how about the road coming in?
Well, see, that will all be, that was all going to be phased in. So you build the terminal, and then you build the apron, then you build the roadway. So the roadway was still going to be 2-3 years out anyhow.
Okay.
That was all going to be phased in.
But we are still working on that, the rental car place.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right.
I don't have any problem with doing it. I'm disappointed we're not
Right,
building
I was looking forward to
the general administration thing. I'd kind of like to see that building go up, but
That's one reason
I understand it.
Well, that's one reason I went to county administrator and said, I really want to come in front of the commissioners. I don't want to just show up to them at a board meeting and I have a design grant for T-hangers and you all say, what are you doing? And so I wanted to come here, explain everything to you about the situation. Now, we're still fine. I mean, the airport's still doing well. I tell you what, this last weekend, we sold close to 5,000 gallons of jet fuel this weekend. It was just, the airport was absolutely, and not just the small airplanes, we're talking big jets coming in. And they said they had 12 jets on Saturday afternoon.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, one more question.
Yes.
Just out of the box. Why not do it all simultaneously?
What,
Do the whole thing.
because the FDOT is funding 80% of it, they won't give me all that.
Well, you get it with the hope of getting it later. I mean, you get a loan and.
No, if you spend the money on the.
I just want you to think,
No. So what happens
chance
is,
of doing
you
that.
can't you spend a penny on a project, they don't go back and pay you back. They only fund it once they give you the PTGA, and then you do it.
You can build those T-hangers pretty quickly.
Right, so my plan is, hopefully, I get this done really quick, and my focus is to get this done in a year. That's gonna be my focus. That way, next July, which is the funding year for FDOT, we're going back and asking for the additional money for the general aviation terminal, which they said they will do.
I just hope we don't lose another year because we just missed that next winter.
I don't think we're going to lose a year. And the nice thing too, as all this is going to be happening simultaneously, that as why we're designing the T-hangers, and then we start building them, and then about probably 90 days out, what should that be? April, May. So around April, May timeframe next year, we go out to bid for the terminal building, and then we have good numbers to ask the DOT in June, which they start writing grants in July.
Why are you standing here?
I'm looking, I want to ask permission, not forgiveness this time. Notice I said this time.
I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
Mr. Chairman,
Sure.
this is, if he proceeded with the terminal this year, you would end up having to subsidize from the general fund. By doing it the way he's doing, he's creating an income stream that will support the debt for his portion of the terminal building. It's fiduciary responsibility is what this plan is.
I'm still trying to figure out Commissioner Sullivan, because, I don't want us to jeopardize those Tesla charging stations out in the parking lot now, you know, so I never know what direction he's going to go.
Just put credit card, just put a credit card on them.
Can we get those in the state here? Charter airplanes?
We don't have electric airplanes yet. I mean, they're out there.
Pretty heavy plane.
Sounds like,
Plane?
The electric plane is
Oh, be
very heavy.
Correct.
sounds like you have consensus, I think, on.
Called drones. Yeah, do it. Yeah, it's.
Thank you, gentlemen. Like I said, I didn't want to get you blindsided, and the good news is,
good.
I was texting the FDOT as we were sitting here, and I said, I think this is going to go well. Just send it to me this week. We'll get on the, you'll see the design on the next agenda on the 19th.
Well, we appreciate your leadership and, you know, really running this operation like a business, which it is. And we look forward to good things.
Absolutely. Thank you, gentlemen. And just think, if you do this full build-out right here, that's close to another additional another $212,000 a year. So it's going to be great.
Good, sir.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do you have anything else, Mr. Cameron? Is that it? Okay. So, yeah, I am. Yeah, I'm going to open this up for public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment on our discussions here today?
Hello, Greg Blasset, President and CEO of the Palm Coast Flagler Regional Chamber of Commerce. Didn't come here today to plan to speak, but man, it's an empty room, and I just want you to know that the Chamber of Commerce cares very much about the conversation that's being had here today. One of the big things that I took away from Dolores' presentation was a lot of what she is saying to you is something that the Chamber has found in our research in the first 9 months of being open, which is we have a lot of people coming here. There's tons of opportunity in this region, but that also comes with some challenges. And, you know, the affordable housing issue, it's not just a Flagler County government thing. We get it. But it's a huge deal. I mean, if you were just to look at her chart from, 17 to 19, the jump that has happened, and then that ended at 2019 data, so we know it's only gotten worse during the pandemic with people staying home. So when I heard this morning Mr. Cameron say that there's a solution coming forth with an affordable housing ordinance or some sort of initiative there, I was very thankful. So we look forward to working with you on that and supporting that. The one thing I would say, being a new Flagler County resident, only been here 6 months in my house, is that is kind of better understanding the process of what we've got going here today. So recommendations have been made, you're considering those, and I just really think, I don't know the answer to this, so truly I'm ignorant about it, but I'm here to get educated. We have, obviously, in Palm Coast, Jacksonville University, University of North Florida coming, the hospital jobs. I don't know to what degree it makes sense for us to put a plan together to talk about ways that the county can help support that making a success. I get that it's totally within the city limits, but my hope is that's so successful that it takes over this whole entire region, to be perfectly honest with you. And I've talked to Dolores about that. I think when you look at this economy, the jobs that actually exist in this community, which we've done, 20% of them are tied to hotels and restaurants. And so those are going to be your lower paying jobs, 1/5 of the entire workforce, and we've got housing increasing. I think when we look at the future of Flagler County, we're talking about in the next 9 years, anywhere from 25 to 40,000 residents coming here. By the year 2040, we're going to get closer to 200,000 residents. We've got a lot of growth coming back our way, and to the degree that we can be proactive and direct what we want this to look like, whether it's housing, whether it's the future types of jobs that we're going to bring here, I think that would be well worth our effort. So again, new guy coming in, missing decades of what has already happened, but I want you to know we're here being supportive. I've been working closely with Dolores, and we're happy to jump on board with any initiative that the county puts together as good partners. So appreciate your time, appreciate the effort of this conversation.
Okay. Thank you, Greg. Good words. All right. Anyone else from the public? Seeing none, I'll close public comment, entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move we adjourn.
Second.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen.